During an ordinary dinner at Buckingham Palace, King Charles saw an unexpected document. The paper that came out of the envelope on the table turned his world upside down. This agreement, secretly signed by Prince William and Kate Middleton, would question 300 years of royal family traditions. So what was written in this agreement, and why did it shock Charles so much? The dining room of Buckingham Palace was hosting the royal family's weekly dinner as usual. Crystal chandeliers from the 18th century illuminated the room with warm light, while antique silver sets sparkled on the table. King Charles, Camilla, Prince William, and Kate Middleton were eating their meals quietly. These dinners were traditional gatherings of the royal family. Outside of official protocols, family members could talk about daily matters here. But this evening, there was a different tension from the usual warm atmosphere. Charles had noticed that William and Kate had been spending more time alone together lately. Especially after Kate's cancer treatment process, the duo had been having more frequent private meetings. Charles considered this natural. After all, Kate's recovery process was difficult, and William needed support. During dinner, William's phone constantly ringing was noticeable. Every time it rang, William would quickly silence the phone and share meaningful glances with Kate. Charles noticed the situation was unusual, but didn't make any comment. When dinner was over, William hastily said, "Father, I'm sorry, but Kate and I have an urgent matter to discuss." Charles nodded, and William and Kate left the dining room. When Charles was alone with Camilla, he said, "William looks very tense lately." Camilla indicated she had noticed the same thing. "Maybe Kate's situation is affecting him more," she replied. Half an hour later, Charles felt uncomfortable and decided to look for William. While walking towards Kensington Palace, he heard sounds coming from near William's study. When he approached the door, he realized William and Kate were having a serious discussion. Charles gently knocked on William's study door. "William, may I come in?" he asked. A somewhat hesitant, "Sure, Dad, come in," came from inside. When he entered the room, he saw William and Kate standing at the desk. Documents were scattered on the table, and both looked a bit uneasy. William quickly tried to gather the documents, but Charles's attention had already been drawn to the papers. When Charles looked closer, he realized that the documents on the table were not ordinary papers. They were thick, official papers, with the royal seal on them. Seeing "secret agreement" written at the top of one of the documents, Charles asked curiously, "What is this?" William and Kate exchanged glances, as if they knew this moment would come. There was slight tension on Kate's face, while determination was on William's face. "Dad, there's a situation we need to explain to you," William said, his voice serious but determined. Kate also came over and said, "Charles, we can sit down. We have things to talk about." Charles examined the room. William's usually organized desk was different this evening. Lawyer files, notes, and official documents were scattered everywhere. This bore the traces of a long preparation process. Charles noticed one of the envelopes on the table. William Arthur Philip Louis and Catherine Elizabeth was written on the envelope. These were their official names and caught Charles's attention. Another envelope had a private and confidential stamp. "William, can you explain what these documents are?" Charles asked, his voice coming out a bit tense. William took a deep breath. "Dad, Kate and I have been discussing an important matter for the past few months. Kate's illness process taught us all a lot, especially about the true meaning of family, tradition, and the future." Kate intervened. "Charles, we made an agreement, but this agreement affects not only our future, but the future of the entire royal family." Charles's heart began to beat faster. "What kind of agreement?" William took the document from the table, but hesitated for a moment instead of giving it immediately. Holding the document, he looked at Charles. "Dad, please read this. But first know that we didn't do this without thinking. We talked for a long time, consulted with lawyers, and made the right decision." When Charles took the document, he noticed his hands were trembling. The document was thick, official paper, with handwritten notes from both William and Kate. The title of the document read, Special Agreement Regarding the Future Reign Period. Charles pursed his lips while reading the title. Future reign period? What does this mean? Kate felt the need to explain. Charles, this agreement was made for the period when William ascends to the throne, but we can implement some of its articles earlier as well. William added, Dad, this agreement is not just between us. It's also for the future of the royal institution. When Charles started reading the document, each line surprised him more. The first article of the agreement was as follows. During Prince William's reign, Kate Middleton will not only carry the title of Queen, but will also have equal say in royal decisions. What does this mean? Charles asked, his voice trembling. William explained, Dad, during Kate's illness process, we saw that the royal family needs more than traditional roles. Kate will not just be a queen, but also an active decision-maker. Charles continued reading. The second article was even more surprising. Prince William and Kate Middleton have the right to act independently of royal traditions in decisions about their children's education and future. Are you going to determine your children's future yourselves? Charles asked, with both surprise and concern in his voice. Kate gently replied, Charles, we want to put our children's happiness before royal duties. If George doesn't want to be a prince, we shouldn't force him. When Charles read the third article, he was completely shocked. During Prince William's reign, certain sections of Buckingham Palace will be open to the public, and the royal family will transition to a more transparent structure. Are you going to open the palace to the public? Charles asked, unable to believe it. William was determined. Dad, the support we received from the people during Kate's illness showed us that the royal family cannot live disconnected from the people. We must be a more open, more accessible royal family. Charles put the document on the table and stood up. William, you're talking about opening Buckingham Palace to the public. This has been the royal family's private space for 300 years. Kate calmly intervened. Charles, we won't open the entire palace, just certain sections. For example, the library, art galleries, areas where the public can see and get education. William added, Dad, you've always been in favor of modernization. This is also part of modernization. While Charles walked towards the window, he read the fourth article. A certain portion of the royal budget will be transferred directly to charities determined by the public. Are you planning to change the royal budget too? Charles asked, with both surprise and concern in his voice. Kate explained, Charles, during my illness process, I saw that the real power of the royal family is not in how much palace or how much tradition. Real power is in how much you can touch the people. Charles stopped and turned to them. So how much budget does this mean? What percentage are we talking about? William showed the document. 15% of the annual budget. It's not a very large proportion, but an amount we can make meaningful projects with. Charles nodded. And how will you distribute this money? Kate excitedly explained, through public voting. Every year, the public will determine which projects they want to be supported. Education, health, environment, whatever they see as necessary. William, seeing his father was shocked, sat next to him. Dad, let us explain why we made this agreement. During Kate's illness, we saw how vulnerable we were as a royal family. The media tore us apart, the public was worried, but we couldn't do anything because traditional roles constrained us. Kate added, During my hospital days, I talked to ordinary people. I listened to their problems. I realized that as a royal family, we have a lot of power, but we don't use this power enough. Charles sat thinking. So when will this agreement take effect? William replied, Dad, when I ascend to the throne, but we can implement some of its articles earlier, for example, regarding our children's education. Charles picked up the document again. Does anyone else know about this agreement? Our lawyers, trusted advisors. But we won't make anything official without your approval, William said. Charles had 1,000 questions in his mind. What about Camilla? What does she think about this? We haven't told Camilla yet. We wanted to talk to you first, Kate said. Charles stood up and walked towards the room's window. London's lights were sparkling outside. This agreement is changing 300 years of royal traditions. Do you understand this? William also stood up. Dad, traditions are important, but if tradition is not open to change, it dies. Kate's experience showed us that the royal family must change. Charles turned from the window and looked at his son. In William, despite his young age, he saw deep determination. When he looked at Kate, he could see the strength that the illness process had given her. I don't know what to think about this agreement, Charles said. This is a very big change. Kate approached Charles. Charles, we're not asking for your permission. We want your support. This agreement will make the royal family stronger. William added, Dad, you had innovative ideas when you were young too. Organic farming, environmental protection. These were also considered radical at that time. Charles smiled. But I never thought of changing royal traditions this much. Charles read the document again. This time he examined it more carefully. The 5th article of the agreement was as follows. Royal family members can engage in personal projects and work outside their official duties. What does this mean? Charles asked. William explained, Dad, if Kate wants to be a museum director, she can. If I want to work as a pilot, I can. Royal duties shouldn't encompass our entire lives. The 6th article was even more interesting. Royal family members can communicate directly with the media and tell their own stories. Kate explained, Charles, during my illness, we saw how the media made false reports. Now we want to tell our own story ourselves. Charles read the last article of the document. This agreement will serve as an example for future generation royal family members, and they can also make similar agreements. Do you see this agreement as an example for George and our other children too? Charles asked. William definitely replied, Yes, Dad. Our children can also make their own agreements in their own time. The royal family must adapt to the requirements of the age. Charles sat in the chair. This is a very big responsibility. What if this agreement fails? Kate confidently replied, Charles, it won't fail, because we're making this agreement to make the royal family stronger. Charles remained silent for a long time. William and Kate were waiting for his decision. Finally, Charles spoke. When exactly did you sign this agreement? 3 days ago, William said, but we won't do anything without your approval. Charles asked, What would have happened if you hadn't gotten my approval? Kate replied, Then we would have waited until you were ready. Charles turned the last page of the agreement. He saw William and Kate's signatures. Below the signatures was a note. This agreement will take effect with the approval of King Charles III. Charles stood up and went to William's side. Son, you and Kate have thought about this agreement a lot. Yes, Dad, we planned for months, William said. Charles turned to Kate. Kate, your illness has changed you a lot? Yes, Charles. It taught me the real values of life, Kate said. Charles picked up the pen from the table. If this agreement will really strengthen the royal family. William and Kate held their breath. Charles brought the pen close to the paper. Then I need to approve it too. And Charles signed the agreement. After signing, Charles looked at William and Kate. What happens now? William replied, Now we'll explain this agreement to other family members, and we'll gradually start implementing it. Kate added, But everything will be gradual. We won't make sudden changes. Charles smiled. I think we're opening a new page in royal family history. This agreement was an important document that would shape the future of the royal family. William and Kate wanted to move away from traditional roles and create a more modern and people-friendly royal family. With Charles's approval, this agreement became official. However, the real impact of the agreement would be seen over time. Kate's perspective gained from her illness process, William's vision for the future, and Charles's understanding came together to create a new roadmap for the future of the royal family. This agreement was not just a document. It was an expression of the royal family's determination to adapt to the requirements of the age. And so, that evening at Buckingham Palace, one of the most important agreements in royal history was signed. Future generations would see this agreement as the beginning of the royal family's modernization process. If you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and click the like button. See you in the next video.